Moving on to agenda item number 8, resolution condemning the big money and corporations that are now funding Trump's agenda. Member Gallotta.
All right, thank you, Chair Tung. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you to the Democrats and members of the public who are here tonight. I do think, let's dive into our first resolution of 2025. I do think it's really important for us to be speaking out right now and to be taking principled stances as a Democratic Party, as the San Francisco Democratic Party. And that was really part of the impetus of bringing this forward tonight, because I do think it's important for our party to be speaking out on what is happening in very, very real time in our country. I do want to thank the Issues and Resolutions Committee for agreeing to put this on the agenda. And thank you for indulging me with just a little bit of some comments on this resolution tonight, and just providing a little bit of context, and hoping that also we'll be closing with a call to action in the hope that we can be united and stand together on this tonight. So I think as some folks have mentioned, both in public comment and here, it was impossibly hard to watch Donald Trump take the presidential oath of office again on Monday, but it did make one thing, I think, very clear. Corporations are more important to Donald Trump than his own cabinet appointees. As Lee Hefner mentioned in public comment, seated right in that front row, if you saw a lot of the media coverage at the inauguration, it was the CEOs of Meta, Google, Apple, Amazon, others as well. Together, these CEOs, their combined wealth tops $1.2 trillion. Anyone who's ever planned a wedding, I know some folks here have, know that seating arrangements are of the utmost importance, and it's clear from day one here that corporate America, tech tycoons, and cryptocurrency barons have a direct seat at the decision-making table and will be the true beneficiaries of Trump's second term. The very industries that the Trump administration will be soon overseeing have showered his inaugural committee with record-breaking donations. Not only are these companies giving far larger amounts than they did to Trump's first inauguration, they're doing so in a far more public fashion. Trump has raked in a record-breaking $200 million to his inauguration committee, receiving donations from $1 million from Apple CEO Tim Cook, $1 million from Amazon, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, $1 million, Uber and Uber CEO, $1 million each, and Meta, $1 million, amongst others. These companies and leaders have gone all in on supporting the Trump administration, despite the administration's renewed attacks against the LGBT community, our immigrant communities, women, and communities of color. It's really a far cry from as recently as 4 years ago when much of corporate America made a show of cutting ties with Trump over his role in the January 6, 2021 insurrection at the US Capitol. And many of these same companies also at that time and after either paused or pledged to review future campaign contributions to members of Congress who voted against certifying the results of the 2020 election. Between Trump's inaugural committee, an allied super PAC, and a 501c4 group that's set up to boost the incoming administration, Trump allies are expected to rake in for all of these as much as $250 million, so including that inaugural committee money and more. The inaugural committee is required by law to disclose its donors 90 days after taking office, but it can keep the public in the dark about how it spent the money and where it funneled any of those leftover funds. So is this money going to Trump's businesses? Is it going to the Trump super PAC? We don't know, and Trump is never going to tell us, and we will never know. But it's safe to say that this money is being put in service to the Trump agenda in one way, shape, or form. And, you know, I think specifically Trump's relationship with Silicon Valley and big tech has really taken a 180 since the election, as many former antagonistic tech leaders are now jockeying to get into the president's good graces. And it's not just the dollars that they're giving directly, it's the fact that they are completely changing course on policy to appease the president. So as mentioned in the resolution, some companies have removed language or value statements on their websites or changed corporate policies that could be perceived as pro-Democrat or hostile to Trump. One example I think we've all been probably following, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced in January he's ending DEI policies on his various social media platforms, including Facebook and Instagram. He's now spewing misogynistic statements about male energy. And on top of this, Meta announced the decision to drop fact-checking and restrictions on free speech on its apps, opting instead for a system that lets users themselves police misinformation. So the 2025 corporate and big tech vibe is get rich or destroy democracy trying. So we know that big money influenced the outcome of the 2024 election nationally like we've never seen before, and this same big money now stands squarely in support of a right-wing regime that we know is going to cause major harm to communities across the country, including here in San Francisco. And the more that the Trump administration is aided, abetted, and encouraged by corporate America and billionaire donors, the more we all stand to lose. I think the reality is that the Trump campaign, as we, I think, know as Democrats, was never about reducing gas prices at the pump or the price of rent or the cost of eggs. It was always about cutting Medicare, Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, Social Security, and public education in order to pay for the largest tax cut in human history. That is what is really happening here, and that is what is coming. And that is why corporate giants and CEOs are lining up behind Trump, because they stand to benefit the most. Meanwhile, these cuts are antithetical to everything we believe in and have championed as a Democratic Party for decades. All of those policies I just mentioned are the bedrock of what we care about as Democrats and what we have championed, what our leaders have accomplished. So I agree with the comments tonight that as Democrats, we have a lot of work to do to restore trust with working families across the country. We really, really have a lot of work to do. But it starts, I think, with making clear that we won't stand for this corporate cabal buying favor to further enrich themselves at the expense of everyone else and all of the issues that are at stake, whether it's the climate crisis, whether it's immigration, workers' rights, or the right to a quality public education. And we need to start by also acknowledging how this mega donor class is not only pumping money to Trump, they also have ties to political spending locally right here in San Francisco. And Uber, which donated $1 million to Trump's inauguration, poured $1.2 million into San Francisco's 2024 election, including $1 million to oppose Prop L, which would have directly helped fund Muni, also something we care about in terms of public transportation and infrastructure. Ripple, a fintech company that was co-founded by Chris Larson, recently contributed $5 million to Trump's inauguration, along with $48 million to 3 PACs that back pro-crypto Republicans and Democrats across the country. Those PACs also pumped $40 million behind Republican Bernie Moreno, which resulted in him edging out the pro-labor Democrat incumbent Sherrod Brown in what is now the most expensive Senate race in US history. And Larson also contributed locally, indirectly, not through Ripple, but directly contributed $1.8 million on SF races and ballot measures, also contributing $200,000 directly to this DCCC's political program. So I'm sharing this tonight because it's incumbent on us as Democratic Party leaders to see this web of money and its influence and decide what we are going to do from here. And I think it's time for the San Francisco Democratic Party to take a principled stand. These are not normal times. Things are going to get a lot worse. And we can't stand on the sidelines as we see companies and CEOs, many of whom who call San Francisco and the Bay Area home, saddling up to a right-wing regime that is dead set on plunging this country into despair and chaos. And I know that this body is often averse to condemnation resolutions, but in this case, I believe that it is warranted. Even President Biden heeded us in his farewell address saying, quote, "An oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights, freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. End quote. So colleagues, I ask for your support tonight on this resolution, and I hope this is just the beginning of this body taking principled stances against billionaire influence, against oligarchy, against the right-wing fascist Trump agenda that's already unfolding before our eyes just in the past few days. I mean, I've stopped reading the executive orders that have been issued because it was just so disgusting. So, Chair Tung, I agree. I think the fight is different right now because what we're up against is so much more sinister, it's more orchestrated, it's more deliberate in its intent to cause harm than I think it even was in 2016. And I think we can build back our brand. We talked about brand tonight. Let's build back our brand and let's stay relevant by making a strong statement and uniting, I think, together tonight, hopefully in support of this resolution. Because I do think building a better party starts with drawing a line in the sand tonight that says we will not tolerate the control of our government by a handful of powerful billionaires. So with that, colleagues, thank you for indulging me on that, but I did want to just share my thoughts and why I brought this resolution forward, why I think it's important, and I just thank you for your consideration and welcome other comments from members. I am open to any sort of more minor adjustments or amendments to the resolution, but I do think the substance I would like to keep intact tonight and put forward for a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gallotta. Is there any discussion from the floor? Member Gupta.
Member Gupta wishes me to read the following statement on his behalf. Thank you, Member Gallotta, for bringing forward your fine resolutions, including resolution condemning the big money and corporations that are now funding Trump's agenda. From my time on the campaign trail and interpreting the San Francisco election results, San Franciscans made clear that they seek their leaders to focus on improving their daily lives, with matters such as more abundant housing of all types, convenient public schools that deliver a quality education, and vibrant, safe streets, to name just a few priorities. We must also fight for worker rights and our LGBTQ+ and immigrant communities with the new national administration. As such, independent of whether I agree with the sentiment expressed by such resolutions, I will be abstaining from any resolutions that I cannot tie back to creating outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gupta. Any other discussion? Member Chandler.
Yes, I think there was a lot that resonated with what Member Gallotta said about, and what we've all heard today about branding of our party, being out of touch, not talking about what voters are talking about. And that's why I was kind of disappointed that that's not what this resolution touched on. There was no mention of the most recent violation of our Constitution, of the fact that the Trump administration is trying to get rid of birthright citizenship. There was no mention of the fact that we now have insurrectionists walking among us because they have been freed by this president. And I was honestly dismayed at the injection of campaign rhetoric when we as a Democratic Party should be coming together, and yet at a moment when we are facing a authoritarian leader who we should all be focusing on opposing that agenda, at this body we're focusing on campaign rhetoric that should have been in the past, and that was disappointing to me. And I don't think it's what we as a San Francisco Democratic Party need to perpetuate. What we need to perpetuate is a united voice opposing Donald Trump, not having the same old tired fights that has resulted in what we have heard tonight from so many people disengaging from the Democratic Party. And so with that, I wanted to make a motion to strike the language and replace it with the following. Resolution opposing Donald Trump's dangerous agenda. Whereas Donald Trump has committed to attacking the LGBTQ community, transgender women in particular, while also being responsible for overturning Roe v. Wade and opposing the Equal Rights Amendment. And whereas Donald Trump has committed his administration to the largest deportation effort in American history, targeting San Francisco's immigrant community and threatening our citizens' leaders, our city's leaders, for enforcing our sanctuary city status. And whereas Donald Trump has committed to giving billionaire tax breaks at the expense of the working class, which would explode our debt and further exacerbate economic equality, particularly in San Francisco. And whereas Donald Trump has unacceptably pardoned or commuted the sentences of thousands of insurrectionists, white supremacists, and extremists who invaded our nation's capital, attempted to prevent the peaceful transfer of power, and who attacked public safety officers. And whereas Donald Trump has specifically targeted San Francisco because of our leadership in standing up for the most vulnerable in our society. Therefore, let it be resolved that the San Francisco Democratic Party affirms its unwavering support for San Francisco's sanctuary city status, abortion access, and reproductive justice, the Equal Rights Amendment as the 28th Amendment as the law of the land, our immigrant and transgender communities, and all our vulnerable communities. That the Democratic Party supports a fair and equitable tax structure and economic equity for all communities and accountability for those who would undermine our democracy, urging state, city, and federal leaders to prioritize the safety, equity, and inclusion of vulnerable populations in all policies and in opposing Donald Trump's dangerous agenda, and be it further resolved that this resolution be transmitted to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, Mayor Daniel Lurie, District Attorney Brooke Jenkins, and City Attorney David Chu. Is there a second?
Second by member, sorry.
I have printed out versions of the new language for whoever would like it.
It appears to have been seconded by member 2.
The point of information, don't amendments have to be accepted by the author of what you're proposing amendments to resolution that I am bringing forward that I've authored. And so I don't think this is out of order to vote on an amended resolution without consent from the author. Reject the amendments.
Friendly amendments are absolutely allowed. This is not a friendly amendment. This is an amendment that has been moved and motioned and will be voted on.
Member Avalos.
I think, Member Chandler, your resolution is excellent. I think we should actually move it for new business for next meeting, and I think we can get a unanimous vote in support of your resolution. This resolution, your resolution is not friendly to the current, resolution that's on our committee, on our agenda. Item number 8 or 9.
Number 8.
Number 8, thank you. So I would like to motion that we continue this resolution that Member Chandler has shared with us to new business so that we can actually put it on the next agenda item, on the next agenda for the next meeting. This resolution that is brought before us, I think it's really important for us to look at how our party has not been able to connect with the people of San Francisco. We actually had a huge investment that came from very wealthy people, from business interests, from corporations, into the makeup of this party and afterward. And it was not successful in electing people here in San Francisco and electing having an increase in Democrats voting for the President of the United States. I think that's a really important thing to look at. I don't actually think that this resolution that's calling out corporate money in our politics is something that we should all disagree with. I don't see it as being hostile to the mission. If our party did accept and receive corporate dollars to move our agenda, I think it's important to understand how effective that money was in helping us to connect with voters, or how ineffective it was. And so this is a very different resolution that Member Gallotta has shared with us today, that I think gets to the heart of why our Democratic Party lost in 2016, lost Congress, and also how we lost in 2024. And I think if we don't want to look at that, if we don't want to look at these issues, we're dooming ourselves to actually repeat what happened in 2024. And we have a pendulum that swings back and forth between fascism and rainbow capitalism, and we're not getting the results we need to actually serve the people in the United States and the people of San Francisco. Corporate money actually does not actually represent the people of this city. And I actually, last year, we all united on a regional housing bond that failed to get on the ballot because corporate money chose to put their money in the market rather than actually investing in public resources that voters would approve. That's the power of corporate money, to deny us the things that we want to actually deliver for the people with our public investments. They don't want those. They want to actually maximize that. So to me, it's really relevant about looking at how corporate money pollutes our politics, to prevent us from delivering a higher quality of life for the people in this country. We all agree on public safety. We all agree on building affordable housing. We all agree on healthcare and improving our education system. And so I'm totally happy to vote for your resolution at a later time. But I think it's important for us to look at, how corporate money actually has destroyed this country, and looking at, we're facing an oligarchy that is actually is fine and dandy to have all of the access to money. You didn't mention it, but Elon Musk was able to get like $250 billion after the election. That's what's happening, and why corporate money is a pollution on our politics, and it's preventing us from actually having the results you want to have for American people. And lastly, a lot of the corporate money that they're putting towards politics is to create their own structures and their own government systems that are separate from the democratic institutions that we want to create to serve the American people. So I'm sorry to be on my soapbox, but we all got our soapbox right now.
I believe Member Chan would like to recognize.
Thank you, Chair Tong. I think that just looking at the language itself, again, I concur and I second the motion, and I concur Member Avalos' motion, and I second his motion, and I concur the sentiment. I think specifically, I would like to understand exactly what language are we striking out in this resolution before us today that any of the members on this body would be in disagreement. I concur with the sentiment. I am in agreement with the language proposed by Member Chandler. Happy to vote for it, be it a next resolution or however way we want to add to the language. But I think by striking out any language that is on this resolution, I would like Member Chandler or any member that will be in disagreement and voting against this resolution to show me in which part of this language, in this resolution, that you're disagreeing with and that you would like to strike out. Because as far as I can read, well, without my reading glasses, clearly quoting it for you, but as I'm zooming in and kind of reading it through, prior and then again today, to say I don't see any language in this resolution referencing specifically any elections in San Francisco, except the fact that to say we're rejecting right-wing agenda, we're rejecting corporate money on all levels of elections, and we're condemning what they have done. So I think let's take a step back and kind of look at the language itself and say, what is it that we're objecting? Thank you, Chair Tom.
Thank you, Member Chan, for your statements. So Member Avalos, I believe that Member Chandler made a motion and it was already seconded before you had a subsequent, before you attempted to have a subsequent motion, so your motion is out of order. We will need to take up Member Chandler's motion to amend with the second first. So, if there's no further discussion, then we will call this for a vote.
A motion to continue doesn't take precedence.
It's not, it was not a motion to continue. Point of clarification, Member Alioto-Pier.
So this is a replacement.
Correct. Member Gallotta.
You know, I have to say, I've served on this body for almost 8 years. I was appointed to serve in 2017 and have been serving since, and this is the first time I have seen this action taken by a colleague on this body to basically gut and amend a fellow member's resolution. And Matt, maybe some others might have different memory on this, but I have to say personally that this resolution was agendized, that I had proposed. It was on the 10-day notice. It was publicly noticed. There's members of the public here. This body operates as an elected body to the public. What this is, no one has seen this. I did not see this language. I would support this. If you would put this on the agenda tonight, I would be 100% behind this. But I feel, and as an author of this resolution, my co-sponsors, that we deserve a hearing, a proper vote on the resolution as proposed. Because believe me, when resolutions have come before this body that I've disagreed with, I have voted against them, or I have abstained. So we all have that ability at this body to take a position on the resolution that I propose tonight. And I think it deserves a vote, a full vote by this body. And if you disagree with the resolution, then you can vote against it. But I do think it is important. I think it is unfair. It really is disappointing to me as a member, an elected member of this body, to not have a resolution that I am bringing forward in a democratic process that was duly agendized, to not have voice and a moment for this body to respond and weigh in. I think that's a courtesy, and I would ask the chair, as the leader of this body, to allow the resolution that a member has brought forward to be heard and voted on tonight. We can take this separately. If there's a way to vote on this tonight as well, let's do it. I would support that. But I am really asking tonight for the resolution that was duly agendized, that members of the public expected and came tonight to hear a vote on, that there's a vote on. Because this is at the heart of democracy. This is the Democratic Party, and I think that we deserve, and Democrats and the public deserve, a vote on the resolution as proposed, and that is what I'm asking tonight. I'm asking colleagues to please allow for a vote on the resolution that I brought forward.
Thank you for your comments, Member Gallotta. There has been a motion on the floor, an amendment which has been seconded. I think that if members would like to accede to your request, then they would reject the amendment. So, Member Dorsey.
Sure. So I'm gonna oppose the motion, and I'm gonna support the Gallotta resolution, largely because of my prior time on the Democratic County Central Committee when I served on the executive board as a corresponding secretary. There is a 10-day notice, there's a 72-hour notice. There's ample time for us to work together when we're crafting resolutions. I do think there is, we go out of our way above and beyond the requirements of the Brown Act and Sunshine Ordinance to notice things. So to have something at the last minute, I think isn't, it doesn't feel small d democratic to me. But I also think that there are times that there are resolutions where I may not be 100% on board, may not like it, but that's part of the course. But I do think that Member Gallotta's resolution is worth supporting. I intend to support it, and I would support this separately.
Thank you, Member Dorsey. Member Alioto-Pier.
Thank you, Chair Tom. I am in agreement with Supervisor Dorsey and former Supervisor Avalos. I actually think that what
Mr. Gallotta is talking about is an important thing for us to discuss. This is big money in politics is not a small thing, and what we're seeing with the Trump administration is a complete and utter outrage. And so I do think that it is of value. That being said, I also very much support Mr. Chandler's resolution. And I would be voting for it on its own. But right now, I will be supporting Mr. Gallotta.
Member Pelosi.
As Speaker Pelosi's proxy, these are things I generally and actually always review with the speaker in advance. And oftentimes there can be things that are amended during the course of the meeting where I would need to abstain, but the language that I've reviewed with the speaker is not the language that is asked for an amendment on. And so I will also oppose this motion.
Any other comments from members of the body? Seeing none, let's go ahead and take the roll. Call the vote.
Member Akbar,
This is on
the amendment,
On the motion to amend.
on the motion to amend.
Yes.
Yes. Member Akbar, yes. Member Alioto-Pier.
No.
Alioto-Pier, no. Member Avalos.
No.
Member Barnes.
Okay, wait, I'm just clarifying. And the motion to amend what?
Motion to amend the resolution to create Trevor suggested resolution.
No.
Member Calamuci.
No.
Member Chan.
No.
Member Trevor is yes. Member Chen. Proxy.
Oh. Yes.
Member Coles.
Yes.
Member Dorsey.
No.
Member Gallotta.
No.
Member Gupta.
Abstain.
Member Hare.
No.
Member Ho.
Yes.
Member Kim.
No.
Member Kingsbury.
Pass.
Member Lai.
Abstain.
Member Mahmood.
No.
Member Mar.
No.
Member Nguyen.
No.
Member Philhauer by proxy.
Yes.
Member Sangirardi.
No.
Member 2.
Yes.
Member Tung.
Yes.
Member Pelosi.
No.
Citizenship. Is Member Mullen proxy present? No. Goodlock proxies? No. Member ex officio Ma.
Abstain.
Ex officio Cohen.
Abstain.
Wiener's not here. Ex officio Haney. Ex officio Stefani.
Abstain.
Member Kingsbury.
No.
The motion does not pass.
Then we can move to Member Avalos' motion to.
Well, we can't vote on this, on Trevor Chandler's resolution today. It's a whole other resolution, so I wanted to insert it for new business.
You wanted to agendize it for next
Next week.
meeting. All right, and it was seconded by Member Chan. Any discussion?
I would just like to repeat my concerns that the first resolution that the body is considering inserts political rhetoric from this DCCC campaign, dividing this body rather than uniting us against President Trump. And I am disappointed that that is the first resolution that this body is passing.
Thank you, Member Chandler. Shall we vote on the Avalos resolution, motion?
I do want to make a comment.
Yes, Member Alioto-Pier.
I'm going to respectfully disagree, Member Chandler. I don't think that this divides us. And I do think that it is an important topic to be brought up when we watch what has happened, particularly at the national stage. And I would hope that talking about big corporate interests is not something that would divide us, but something that we can easily talk about and discuss.
Member Gallotta. I'm sorry, let me go to Director Coles first.
Thank you. I adamantly oppose money in politics. And I also want to concur with what Member Gupta said, which is that we are in a moment where the Democratic Party needs to be focused on outcomes. So I would rather see a resolution that proposes changes to the rules of fundraising for campaigns and inauguration committees instead of a resolution that condemns humans for acting rationally. I think this behavior is abhorrent, but I think these people are simply acting rational. And so I think we should be focused on outcomes and rules that will impact the outcomes of money in politics.
Point of order.
Yes.
We should be voting on the motion to continue this item to the next meeting, and then we can have a discussion about the other resolution.
Yes,
But right now,
correct.
Yeah.
Can we,
But I have just a point of order though, just on this motion. This resolution was not agendized and is not technically moot now that the vote, in my opinion, was just failed for this. So I think this can be introduced tonight in new business. I don't think that there's a vote on this resolution because it's out of order. What now, I'd like to motion that we vote on the resolution that has been agendized, item 8, for a vote by the full members. If there's a second to that, I would like to make that motion.
hold on. Okay. I do believe that there are questions, and what Director Cole has raised is, I think, a question of amendment. Is that right?
It's just a point of order.
Or a debate?
It's a perspective in
Interesting
discussion.
debate. All right. And Vice Chair Barnes, did you want to be recognized?
I thought that we were going to have an opportunity to make proposed amendments based on your invitation to do so. I don't know the exact terminology, but secondly, I was just going to offer a quick little perspective because I was at Berkeley getting a master's in public policy when following the first Trump election. And the mood was similar, although not exact, as we were talking about earlier. But the idea of anti-corporate, anti-capitalism. I took Robert Reich's class. I mean, all of it was the same and similar. And people who were working in Silicon Valley, people who work in tech, people who have money were really villainized. And I remember just being like mortified. I was taking an Uber going across the bridge, you know, over there. So I guess this is just a general sentiment thing and a personal anecdote that while I support a lot of what you wrote in your resolution, it is it's more anti-corporate, anti-tech than I think maybe it doesn't feel like there's any breathability at all in that topic. And so I think that there are still good actors in that world, like my husband, for instance. And so I just wanted to somehow like raise concern with how much we're demonizing those who are I hopefully going to help lift up the economy here in San Francisco. So that's all.
Again, point of order. My motion originally stated was that this item be put to new business so we can forward it to the next agenda of our next meeting. And that's really what we should be voting on, and then we can vote on the underlying resolution.
Putting on my parliamentary hat, your motion was made after an active motion was there, so it was dead. So you'd have to make it again.
I just made it again.
Second. Support it to new business.
Okay. So I do believe that the second motion that of Member Avalos to put Member Chandler's amendments resolution to new business is actually now the active motion if there is no discussion, can we vote by acclamation to move Member Chandler's motion or resolution to new business? Without objection, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so we will take that up as new business in the next meeting. Now we are back to the original resolution. Since we did not have an opportunity for discussion, we did not have a full opportunity for discussion, I will open the floor for additional discussion on this topic. So I would like to add and echo both Vice Chair Barnes's comments and also Director Cole's comments that while the issue of corporate money in politics is a very real one, the bigger issue is the influence of big money in politics. And money comes from everywhere. It's not just corporations. It comes from individuals. It comes from interest groups. It comes from all sorts of places. And we do see that in San Francisco in abundance in our last election. And it wasn't money just supporting one side. It was money supporting all different sides. And I do think that when we talk about money in campaigns and money in politics, that there is a real detriment to the voice of the ordinary person, the ordinary voter, the person down the street, the person who runs the Cornerstone, because there is just no way that you can compete either with the power and influence and dollars of a corporation or the money, the power, and the influence of special interest groups. And I don't know that this resolution really addresses it except from one perspective, and that's corporate money, and specifically it calls out tech money. I don't feel that, I do think that there are businesses that try to act within their business interests, and that while Trump's inauguration campaign or inaugural committee had a significant amount of money that was put into it, so did the Biden inaugural committee. It was $61 million. $1 million from Pfizer, $1 million from a host of corporations and individuals. And so if we are really to condemn money in politics, I think to do so in a more sweeping manner is actually more consistent with our values, rather than just saying, oh, this is money on one side that is really, really bad. I think the money in politics in general is really, really bad. And it does not allow us to hear the voices of ordinary people, no matter if it's going to fund a Republican inaugural committee or a Democratic inaugural committee. I do think that there are corporations that are in San Francisco that are benefiting San Francisco who have been called out in this resolution. They benefit our economy greatly. They benefit the people who work here greatly. And the idea that we are going to try to demonize them in this resolution by specifically calling them out, I think is antithetical to what we are trying to do in San Francisco, which is raise our economy up, raise the profile of San Francisco as a place where businesses can come and that our people can get jobs and that we can be leaders in the American economy. And so while I appreciate the sentiment of this resolution, I have some real problems with the way that it has been drafted and the language in it. And so for that reason, I will not support it.
So
So can I say something?
Yes,
And it's-
Vice Chair Akbar, I would love to hear you say something.
Member Gallotta, this has nothing to do with what you wrote. I don't need that.
The video needs it. Thank you.
Anything to do with what you wrote, appreciate it and thank you for what you wrote. But the issue for me is real simple. This is not about so much against Donald Trump or whatever the hell Trump doing. Trump been doing it for 4 years before, continues to do the same thing. But more Americans voted for him. And it ain't got that had nothing to do with Trump. And necessarily had nothing to do with money. And then what we skirt our issue is that a lot of us at this table, I'm not gonna say everyone, ran on crime in San Francisco, ran on no housing in San Francisco, ran on accountability. We had people come in here tonight talking about Safeway, and we talking about right now what Donald Trump could possibly do. And I think our concerns should be more focused on what's in front of us and what's in our face in this city right now, what we can control locally, than trying to control something nationally. And in order for us to be able to write something against someone else, I mean, that's part of the thing of pointing the finger. We just got our butt whoops. We got whooped pretty bad. And then you're gonna sit up and talk about the person, he's happy now. So why keep giving him play and keep giving him information to keep his name out in the news? Donald Trump is not the issue. Something else along the line is the issue. He's just a result of it. And everybody on here, I don't care how you want to look at it, money put us all in these positions we're in. Damn sure didn't have nothing to do with what we were going out and saying. So what we have to be able to look at is look at our own individual self before we start pointing the finger at someone else. And again, for me, this is about our local issues now. We just got a mayor in office. We don't know what he's gonna do. And we don't even know how he's gonna clean this up. And we're talking about Donald Trump. We're trying to prepare for what Trump is gonna do when we need to come together collectively with this city. So us talking about things that outside of our reach, that's easy. And then we're not even agreeing on that. So, I mean, come on, man. We really have to stop this because like I said, what people were missing, they want to get food on their table. They want to stop sleeping in their cars. They want to stop using drugs. All those things. Those are the reality things. Those are the people that were potential Democratic voters. And I guarantee you, most of those that are doing it, out there out of their mind right now, are Democrats. So that's the people, some of those people that we need to get back. And I'm just saying that with all of this, and then we start getting caught up on procedure as opposed to what was written. And so, you know, we can't do that, man. We can't continue to do this. And I can't believe we all in a democratic city. And all of us are Democrats, but one thing I learned from running in this, I thought I was in the South. The way we get at each other and being disrespectful to one another. That stuff gotta stop. And all that is ideology. So what you talking about? Which has nothing to do with putting food on somebody's table. And we're always trying to put our politics on somebody else. And the people who suffer is the poor people. So that's what I just have to say on that. Oh, you want it? Oh.
Member Chan.
Go ahead.
I absolutely think that by doing this resolution against Trump has everything to do with the local level at this moment. On his first day, one of his executive order is take out the birthright of those that are born in the United States. And that on every level has everything to do with all the immigrants and DACA and all of the people that we support as a city because they build this city. Then we're saying that somehow condemning Donald Trump and those that spend money on him is somehow has nothing to do with the local level, with our city, and especially the Democratic Party. And that is disheartening to hear, because fundamentally, I thought that's what we're all doing here as Democrats, is that how do we figure out a way from a local level and state level and a federal level that we know all politics start on a local level. And if we don't stand up on a local level, then I don't know what we're doing here as a Democratic Party. I thought there's a saying for all of us, at least I did, for the last 20 years working in San Francisco, so goes San Francisco, so goes California, and so goes the nation. I thought that's what San Francisco is about, that we're actually should be very proud to be San Francisco Democrats, and that this is the reason why we're here, that we believe as San Francisco Democrats, we have influence on the California politics, on national politics. I thought that's why we're here, but if that's not why, and that somehow that we can chew gum and walk at the same time, meaning that we help protect our communities in the Fillmore to have a safe way and protest Donald Trump at the same time, I think something is wrong here. I thought we're better than that. So that's all I'm gonna say. I support Member Gallotta. Let's take a vote, and so we know where we stand as a party today. Thank you, Chair Thompson.
Member Sangirardi. I'm sorry. Did you? Now you're in my blood vessel. Member Mahmood.
I mean, it seems like there's some consensus on the spirit of Member Gallotta's resolution. Are there specific amendments that we can make that the people who are in opposition to it that would get it closer to what everyone here is in agreement on?
I know this was probably not Member Gallotta's intention tonight, that this would turn into the end-all be-all of talking about the existential crisis of the Democratic Party. But I'm actually relieved that we are, because we haven't talked about that. And I think it's one of the bluest cities in the country, one of the bluest places. We should actually be talking about what is the heart and soul in this day and age of the Democratic Party. What's stunning to me is not that Donald Trump won by a couple million votes, he actually won the popular vote this time, is that he didn't lose by 75% of the vote.
Yeah.
Right, how are we that close as a party where we're literally fighting over a few counties and a few states? That tells me that there is a crisis of consciousness in our party and who we're representing and the trust that people have in this institution. You know, I mean, for a long time, I've never been a big party guy, because I actually have a really big challenge with institutions like this that become very large, very powerful. It gets really easy for people to be in positions of power, to take money, to push people around, and to control the populace, right? That's kind of that's what Biden's leaving message was from office. And I think it is on us as one of the bluest places in the country to actually think about what kind of party we want to have moving forward. We see this today. We see the challenge that we have with the Democratic Party, with parties like the Working Families Party cropping up and growing around the country. We have today the Rosepike Democratic Club saying that they're no longer going to be a charter club of the San Francisco Democratic Party, and that hurts. I am a Democrat. I care a lot about the Democratic Party, and I know the Democratic Party has gone through a lot of renditions over the last 150 years, and some of them have been really, really bad. And I think it is on us right now to actually have those conversations about what we want the party to be. And I know there's a question, people keep on coming back to this, how are we gonna put people, food on the table? That's not what this body does. This body, when it's not in an election, is glorified virtue signaling. Glorified virtue signaling. We are virtue signaling with a fucking microphone. That is what we're doing here tonight. And the question is, what are we saying, and how does that connect with the people in our city and rebuild trust in this institution to make them feel like they're being represented in this process, so the next time an election comes around, they feel like they actually see our logo and say, you know what, they represent me, I'm gonna follow their lead. My question is, what are we gonna do to make sure that happens? So I know that this is the existential crisis currently of the Democratic Party. I'm actually glad that we're having this conversation tonight.
I appreciate everyone for like making contributions to it. I know that we're all probably already getting tired and expecting this to like last longer, much longer than we expected, but thank you for at least bringing it up as a resolution, Member Gallotta.
Any other member wish to recognize Director Live? There's a mic, right?
And then I'd like to.
I also just want to echo, thanks for the spirited discussion on all this. I just want to say two quick things. One is, from a money perspective, I mean, you know, Vice President Harris raised $1.15 billion. Trump raised $463 million, but we still lost big time. And then I think the other thing is there's a really good, semi-relevant, but maybe my favorite thing I've read on like how Trump won. I can send it around after if people are interested. The TLDR, the statistical analysis is Democrats stayed home, right? He won the popular vote, but it wasn't as if he got more voters, potential voters than last time. It's that Democrats stayed home. What I heard when I ran in November locally, knocking on 13,000 some doors, was just people feeling like the most basic things were being paid attention to. So I want to echo some of the earlier sentiments of just want to stay hyper-focused on local San Francisco things. Now, I will say, to Member Chan's point, if there is stuff that is directly relevant, I mean, the birthright citizenship stuff yesterday, unconscionable, to the extent that there's stuff national that directly affects local San Franciscans, I think we should talk about that absolutely as a body, but as it stands, I'm likely going to abstain or vote no for those reasons.
Member Avalos again. I'm sorry, is there somebody over here?
I actually think that it would be good for us to have this conversation, I want to, at another meeting. And so when we get to the new business item, I think it would be good for us to actually, go deeper into this and maybe put together a committee to assess how we can actually be stronger at uniting with the more people who identify as Democrat and can actually grow more Democrats in San Francisco. So that to me is a worthy thing to take part of. I don't have a problem with supporting this resolution. And I think I motion that we suspend debate and vote.
Second. Calling the question. All right, we're going to close discussion and vote. Member Chan, call the roll.
On the original motion, on the original resolution, Member Akbar.
No.
Member Alioto-Pier.
Aye.
Member Avalos.
Aye.
Member Barnes.
No.
Member Calamuci.
Aye.
Member Chan.
Aye.
Member Chandler votes no. Member Chen. Proxy. Oh, okay, we'll pass. Member Coles.
Pass.
Member Dorsey.
Aye.
Member Gallotta.
Aye.
Member Gupta. Member Hare.
Yes.
Member Ho.
No.
Member Kim.
Abstain.
Member Kingsbury.
Aye.
Yes.
Member Eli.
Abstain.
Member Mahmood.
Yes.
Member Mar. Proxy.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Member Nguyen, proxy.
Yes.
Member Philhauer, proxy.
Pass.
Member Sangirardi.
Yes.
Member 2.
No.
Member Tung.
No.
Member Pelosi.
Yes.
Member Mullen is not here. Member Kunalakis is not here. Member Ma.
Abstain.
Member Cohen.
Abstain.
Mayor is not here. Member Haney.
Yes.
Member Stefani.
Yes.
Going back to passes. Member Chen.
Waiting,
Okay. Member
coming through.
Member Coles.
Abstain.
All right, we're gonna need to close this on member. Oh, Philhauer.
No.
once again, back to Member Chen, who's writing a paragraph apparently.
He's right. We've spent a lot of time here, we can wait a half a second.
Abstain. All right, votes are counted. What was that? Oh, an absent. The ayes are 15, the noes are 7, the abstains are 6, the absents are 1. The ayes have it.
Woo! Congratulations, Member Gallotta. Moving on to item agenda number 10. Agenda item number 10, resolution honoring and remembering Dennis Kelly, longtime educator, labor leader, and Democrat. Member Gallotta.
Thank you, colleagues, and thank you for the vote on the prior item. And I just want to say, I appreciate the spirit of debate here on this, and I do agree that we need to continue to have these conversations with Democrats. I think that's the only way we chart a path forward for our party to understand what we need to do and what we need to address. And I agree with, we need to get all corporate money out of politics. So whether it's on our side or on the other side, we've got a big money problem. We need publicly financed elections, but we'll talk about that. Let's bring that forward. I hope we can agree on more on that. And I also agree that let's talk about the local issues too. We can chew gum and walk at the same time. We need to stand tall. National issues affect us here. Everything affects us in San Francisco.
Thank you, Member Gallotta.
So,
we are on agenda item number 10.
Well, thank you. All right, I hope we can all agree on this next resolution, but I did want to take a moment to recognize